It is time to talk Detroit Lions offensive line. What's going on YouTube? This is MicroMike here, and thank you for viewing my video. I want to make sure if you're not subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and get all the notifications when it comes to my videos. If you're new, I drop a video every day, and I go live at least once a week. And also, I'm part of the Detroit Sports Alliance, where we make real news when it comes to Detroit sports for you, the viewer. And we take on the mainstream media and combat their disinformation. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions offensive line depth chart. Now, this is a big one because we're so worried about how this offensive line depth chart's going to look when it goes to the 2019 and 20 season when it comes to Detroit Lions. Offensive line is probably one of the biggest question marks when it comes to our Detroit Lions. I wanted to give you a thought of kind of how I see this is going to play out and what the depth is going to be when it comes to our line. So we have many individuals on the team right now, and so it is vital to go ahead and cut out the fat and kind of see how this thing's going to play out. So I went through the history when it comes to offensive line and the Detroit Lions and usually how many individuals they keep on the team. And what I've come up with is approximately 9 the last couple of years. So 9 offensive linemen are usually on the team for the 53-man roster. I also looked at the practice squad. How many individuals made the practice squad? Sometimes none, sometimes one. And when it comes to one, and usually it was center/guard. That will be my take when it comes to the offensive line, what I think is going to be in the practice squad, what I think is going to be the backups and starters. So with that said, folks, let's get it. Okay, so I wanted to cut out the fat first before we get into potential practice squad and starters and backups. There's a lot of offensive linemen on the team right now that is simply going to be here for preseason and not injury to our starters. And some of these folks right now I have is Mr. Ryan Polk. He's a tackle. I don't think he makes the team, so we can cut him out. We got Matt Nelson. He's also a tackle. Go ahead and cut him out. Andrew Donald. Go ahead and cut him out as well. He's a tackle. Mika St. Andrew, guard. Cut him on out. Leo Kalmatic. I'm sure I just destroyed that guy's name. I apologize. He's a center. I don't have him making the team. And Luke Bawanko. Again, I don't have that guy making the team. So those are the individuals I decided to cut automatically. Understand that these guys are not going to make the team. I don't even have them making the practice squad. So as you notice, I did not have one on the practice squad. And I will talk about the practice squad when I am done going through the list I have for the 9 individuals who are making the team in no particular order. So the first individual we all know is center Frank Ragnow. He was our draft pick last year. He's a fantastic player. He played guard for us last year. I have him starting as our center for the Detroit Lions for 2019-20 season. He is a great lineman. He was a great pickup, a good rookie last year, and I think he's going to improve and help the team go to the next level and help Matthew Stafford dissect defenses and making this team much better when it comes to the line. He is a fantastic player, the anchor for this line for years to come, and I'm very happy that he's on our team, and he's going to be helping Matthew Stafford for this year and for years to go. So it's going to go ahead and jump into guards next, because the guard position, usually it goes 3 guards when it comes to team. That's what I've noticed a lot. But when it comes to the Detroit Lions, you know how Bob Quinn is and Matt Patricia, they like to kind of mix it up so they can play guard and they can play tackle as well. So the first individual I have will be a backup, and that's Ode Abushi. I'm sure, again, I destroyed his name. I am terrible when it comes to names sometimes. And he was considered an offensive line. He'll be the ability to play guard if need be, at a special ability to play tackle. Now again, he is a complete backup. I do not see him starting for the team, and so you can go ahead and put your nerves down. He is an individual that, for right now, can play as a backup. Now, again, this is my initial 53-man roster. Doesn't necessarily mean this is how it's going to be when the season starts, because again, we know how Quinn is. He'll pick individuals up when other teams let players go. He might fit our scheme well, because when it comes to our offensive line depth, it is not high speed as we probably should want it to be. So again, when it comes to him, he will be a backup slot individual. Now, another guard that I have who will be a backup, we did not draft this individual, but we picked him up as a rookie free agent. He is one of my favorite players due to the fact where we got him as a free agent, and that's Bo Benchwa, guard from Wisconsin. He should have been drafted, in my opinion, at least in the 5th round. We got him as a free agent. I definitely see him making the team because his potential is very high. His ceiling is high, and I think if we decided not to make him in the 53-man roster, I believe another team would pick him up. We paid him more money than a rookie free agent. He had many offers on other teams to join a team as a rookie. And so I think if we practice squatted him, he's not going to be on our team. So I definitely see him making the 53-man roster initially being a individual who's a backup. Now, when it comes to Bo Benchwa, I see him like last year. We had Terrell Crosby, who played for an injured offensive line when it comes to TJ Lang. Now, I see that with Bo Benchwa. I see if we have an injury and we need someone on the dime, I see him being the potential first individual to take that spot to help with the guard and helping our team out in that sense. So let's go on to our next guard, who I see as a starter, and that is Mr. Graham Glasgow. He was our former center for the Detroit Lions. He is now going to play guard for us, and I believe it's going to be right guard. And he played center for us the last couple of years. He did an okay job. I would definitely not say above center when it comes to the NFL teams. But again, our depth at offensive guard is not that great, and I definitely see him making the team due to experience, as well as he's better than the other individuals we have on the team. And that's not saying a whole lot, because there's a lot of individuals that I feel probably should not be on the team. And again, we need to look at the future when it comes to Bob Quinn, and I will jump into that in a little bit later. But Graham Glasgow does bring experience, and he has been with the offensive line for years, so that brings that continuity factor. Now, the next individual who I have starting will be for guard, and I'm jumping on a limb here, would be Terrell Crosby. Now, he is a tackle when it comes to, we drafted him last year in the 5th round. I think he can jump into left guard this year and take snaps and learn how to play better to eventually be our starter at right tackle with Rick Wagner. So I see him being our left guard initially, and if he could stay healthy, he really can make the offensive line a lot better than it has been in a couple of years, because I think his ultimate goal is to be right tackle, but he's going to be a starter for us for years to come at the right tackle position. I see him as another anchor for the years to come. His ability to pass protect and his ability to push defensive linemen is very well. He just needs experience because he's a young guy, and I see him being our starter. I know when it comes to camp right now, we're not initially seeing this. We're seeing another individual who's starting, and I just see that Terrell Crosby's got to beat this individual out. And the next individual I have when it comes to our backup would be Mr. Kenny Wiggins. I think Kenny Wiggins cannot start for us. I don't believe he has a potential to be a good starter at all. I think he is an individual, if he's starting, we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. I do not like Kenny Wiggins. He is not really good when it comes to the offensive line. However, when it comes to our current depth right now, it's not very good. And at least he has some experience, and that's not saying much at all. That is not a MicroMike approval of this individual at all. And again, I will talk about it when I'm done talking about the roster. So when it comes to Kenny Wiggins, he is in the 53-man roster initially by default. The fact that we don't have the greatest depth at the offensive line position, and that's why he makes the team. I really don't want to get more into him, because you all know I don't like him. So the individual who I do see as right now being a potential backup and he makes the team, and who won't be cut after other players get cut, because we're going to talk about how other teams are going to get cut and we may pick up those individuals, and that's Joe Dahl. He's made progress this year by getting in better shape and playing guard better, and we're hearing good things about him in camp. So I see his improvement as a big positive. I don't see him being a starter for us, but just like Bo Benchua, I see him being our backup if an injury happens to Terrell Crosby, any other individual like Graham Glasgow, or potentially even beating Glasgow throughout the year. But I see him as finally starting to pick things up a little bit, and I'm very happy for him. I truly, truly wish nothing but the best for him, because, again, our depth is not well. We drafted this individual a couple years ago, and if he can finally develop, we can potentially have an individual who can be on our team for a couple years, and that's what we need. So I definitely have Dahl being a 53-man player, but a backup at this point. Now, we all pretty much know who's going to be our tackles. I do have left tackle Taylor Decker as our left tackle right now. However, that may change if he starts to falter. And again, we're going to talk about that in a minute once I'm done talking about the roster. When it comes to Taylor Decker, he's been our left tackle for a couple years. He was solid the first year. He got injured the second year, and he kind of faltered a little bit. And so we have to see how he does. He has a full year now of rest and getting that injury to finally solve, hopefully, and he can take it to the next level. If he doesn't, he's not going to be on the team next year for sure, and we could be looking for another left tackle in the next year's draft and potentially moving an individual on our team right now, like Terrell Crosby, to left tackle. So right now I do have him starter at left tackle. Of course, right tackle, I have Rick Wagner. Again, I see him being our starter this year. I do see him being a starter this year only. I think he's done after this year. I think we're not going to have him on our team next year because we have an individual like Terrell Crosby who's able to move over to that right tackle position. But again, for this year, he's on our team, and we move on from him after this year. There's not a whole lot to say about Rick Wagner. We all know what he brings to the table. He can be dominant sometimes, and sometimes he can just make some brain farts and give Stafford some issues, and we don't need that. We're paying this man a lot of money to make sure Matthew Stafford's not on the ground, and he's not really getting, in my opinion, he's not living up to his contract the way he should be, and we can go ahead and move on from him after this year. Now, this is the initial 53-man roster, so let's talk about how I believe this is not how it's going to be finalized when we start the year. I believe there's individuals that will be left off of teams that we need to look at a lot, and we really need to dive into when the roster starts getting cut down, when it goes from 93 to the 60s. What other teams let go? Because I feel that Kenny Wiggins and Ibushi hopefully will not be on this team when it comes to week one. I'm hoping that there's individuals that get cut from other teams that Bob Quinn will look at to add to our team, and potentially add an individual also to our practice squad. Our depth is not that great. It may be the weakest part of our whole team, and we do have a lot of depth throughout the other positions, but again, when it comes to the offensive line, it's one of the positions really need to be strong at, because it can affect everything. It can affect the run game, how your quarterback plays, and hopefully he scouts and we get other individuals via let go due to roster cuts. Now, if that doesn't work out, if not individuals we can get via roster cuts, I can see Bob Quinn making a trade, because this is so important to our team to have a offensive lineman that can keep Matthew Stafford upright. If it ends up being that Joe Dahl is not working out the way that we think he can be, and Terrell Crosby's not working out the way we can be, and a Kenny Wiggins is starting for us, we're in for some trouble, and we need to make a trade. And I have no problem with Bob Quinn jumping on those phones to getting us a quality guard for this team, because we need a quality starter. We need to have these individuals step up to where we drafted them, step up to their contract, and take it to the next level. We need that, or we are in trouble. So hopefully these guys can do it. Hopefully Joe Dolph can take it to the next step. What we're hearing in OTAs was promising, and I'm very happy about that. But when it comes to Kenny Wiggins, and when it comes to, you know, having an individual on the team that's reliable, especially if we have an injury, man, just to think if one of our starting guards go down and Wiggins is in for us for some time, for a couple weeks, that's gonna hurt bad. So we don't need that. So again, don't believe this is going to be the final 53. I do not believe it, but this is what we got to work with right now. Let's keep the love up when it comes to Detroit. Let's take Detroit Sports Alliance to that next level and take on the mainstream media. Let's take on these guys head on. Grab the bull by the horn and show them who the real media is, who the real factual content is, who brings real information when it comes to all things Detroit, all sports Detroit. Also, as well as a big shout out to DVE, Man Beast Morrises of the world. These guys, we bring the real stuff. We bring it. And the Ace Taker, I love that guy, man. So again, join the Alliance, be part of us. Subscribe to me, subscribe to everyone part of the Detroit Sports Alliance, because we are trying to bring you factual-based content. We're trying to remove our feelings from it and bring you non-biased, quality content for you guys to listen to while you're at home, while you're at work. When you want, you fiend for that Detroit Lions. When you fiend for the Detroit Pistons. When you fiend for the Tigers, you fiend for the Red Wings. So this is what we're all about, folks. So make sure you subscribe so we can bring it all to you. All right, adios.